All right, guys, I got a question for you. Are you one of those golfers who's been trying to open your hips at impact only to find your game is getting worse? In today's video, I'm going to break down why this common advice might be hurting your performance. So sit tight. You're going to want to watch this video. So in my experience, many golfers believe that mimicking tour players that open their hips at impact will improve their game. But what most golfers don't realize is that most tour players keep their shoulders remarkably square to the target at the point of collision. When they make contact with the golf ball, guys, they're not getting their shoulders wide open. They're in a position with their mobility to be able to get their hips open, get their lower body open, but offset that with a ton of right side bend in order to keep their shoulders on plane. So you have to ask yourself this question: do you have the mobility and the strength to transfer energy kinematically from the ground to the club head as well as a tour player? If you do, keep doing what you're doing, okay? But most golfers cannot do that. In my experience, average golfers cannot offset that open lower body with that right side bend. If you try and do it, guys, and you don't have a green light, okay, maybe if you haven't been in a TPI program or at least checked your mobility, there's a very, very good chance that you're going to actually injure yourself. Not only is it going to hurt your game, but you could well injure your back and your hips. So stop doing that. It then begs a big question, okay? Is it more important to get the hips open at the point of collision when that club hits the golf ball, or is it more important to return the shoulders to a relatively square position? Bearing in mind, one of the best golfers in the world, Adam Scott, who I think has one of the best golf swings in the world, is only about 3 degrees open with his shoulders when he makes contact with the golf ball. That's definitely food for thought. In my opinion, it's more important to have your shoulders square than it is to have your hips open. And for those of you that don't have enough mobility, you trying to get those hips open is going to cause your upper body, guys, to spin. You're going to have a transition spin which throws the club out and it throws it over, which is why 85% of golfers are slicers. That is the reason. So we're going to discuss it today. I'm going to give you a couple of really, really good drills that are going to give you the feel that you're going to need in order to create more speed with less effort. So let's talk about this a little bit more. All right, I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of you don't have the strength and mobility of a tour player, and that's okay. But we can learn from good players. We can learn from them a lot, as a matter of fact. There's a race that helps maintain proper shoulder alignment at impact, and it's a race between the belt buckle and the sternum, okay? The vast majority of you have weaker grips. That gets your sternum too far above your hips. It gets your right shoulder too high, and generally what happens is you actually have your sternum outrunning your pelvis, okay? Your sternum is winning the race. The problem with that is, of course, it causes a very, very steep angle of attack. So your energy is being transferred not into the side of the golf ball, but into the ground in a very vertical orbit. That's what I see with the vast majority of golfers. So the bottom line is, good golfers are the opposite, okay? We've got something called sway gap, which essentially is, if you could picture my sternum being directly above my belt buckle at this point, it's this angle right here, okay? So it's a few degrees to the right for good golfers. We've got a little bit of a gap, essentially, you know, between the sternum and the belt buckle. Good golfers tend to maintain that as they approach the golf ball. What they're not doing, of course, is changing that. They're not going from this position where the sternum is behind the belt buckle to a point where the sternum is miles out in front. That causes a ton of inconsistency. So it's important to point out that most good golfers have stronger grips. Guys, across the fingers, 2 to 3 knuckles on the left hand, there's a tremendous advantage in having a stronger grip because it naturally lowers the trail shoulder. It actually puts the sternum more behind the belt buckle at address. Most of you with weaker grips, again, we understand the upper body's winning the race. it's really great way to offset that and make it much more difficult to come over the top of it. The other thing to understand is when the sternum is seated a little bit more behind the belt buckle, it naturally pushes the swing direction further to the right. Another huge advantage for you guys that slice the golf ball. So the objective here when we set up to the golf ball is to make sure that the belt buckle is slightly ahead of the sternum. As we get to the top of the backswing, we maintain that relationship. We don't start leaning on it. So many of you sway and tilt, or we don't get back and of course spin the upper body and again have the sternum get out way in front of the belt buckle. That's going to cause you all sorts of trouble. So if I keep my sternum behind my belt buckle as I swing the golf club, it helps me keep my shoulders facing the golf ball at impact. Okay, we're going to be less over the top, we're going to be more underneath. Combine that feeling, of course, with the arms dropping. We are going to shallow that golf club, guys. We're going to go ahead and allow the arms to swing a lot faster. The body's going to be spinning less. You're going to be amazed how well you strike the golf ball. Just like this. Let's go ahead and do that a couple times. Great feeling. Really feel powerful as I approach the golf ball there. You can see, again, not terribly open with my lower body, just giving that thing a nice whack, really feeling like as I come into the golf ball here, my upper body's facing back. When I strike the golf ball, I'm facing the ball and I go ahead and really feel like that right arm is starting to extend at the point of collision. There's no better feeling. Give you a couple drills here that's really going to help. I like to do a crisscross drill, which is kind of a weird one, but what we're going to do is essentially crisscross our left leg over our right. Bend your knees a little bit here. Don't lock up your legs, but have a little bit of knee flex. That's going to slow your pelvis down, okay? And then what we're going to do here is make some swings. And you can see here it's virtually impossible for me to spin my hips too early. I'm going to go ahead and strike the bag, focusing on my arms sort of de-elevating the golf club here. When I make contact, my shoulders are very, very square. Great way to slow the pelvis down, tee up some balls. You don't have to hit the ball very far, but you're going to find immediately the golf club is working down from the inside. You're going to find immediately that your trail shoulder is in a much better position as you approach impact relative to your lead shoulder. You're not going to be up and spinning. You're going to be more behind the golf ball, which is a fantastic feeling to have. Nothing better than creating room for your arms to swing freely. Another fantastic drill is to actually stagger your feet, okay? What we call a right foot back drill. I know some of you have tried this before. We take your right foot, you pull it way behind you here. Go ahead and sit up normally. Drop your trail foot behind you. And again, what we're looking to do here is we're looking to return the shoulders to a square position as you make contact. I'm essentially facing the bag when I get to impact. I'm not, I repeat, I am not too open, okay? Arms working down as the body is turning back to the golf ball. Then I'm going to go ahead and just hit the bag a few times here. And as I strike the bag, you're going to see here, you might see a little bit of movement with my feet as I make contact. My arms are going to drop. I'm going to go ahead and hit one more time here, but I'm not terribly open, guys, because again, if I try and get open, my shoulders are going to spin. I'll try and do that right now. You can see if I do that, looking downstairs, things look a little bit better. No question about that. If I do it one more time, that looks way better. I'm starting to create some speed. Unfortunately, my shoulders, guys, they're 30 degrees left as I'm doing that. As a better player, once I start pulling my body to the left, the club's going to move in the opposite direction. I'm going to start hitting some really inconsistent golf shots. So again, it's a really important thing for me, knowing I can't get my lower body too open, to make sure I keep my back to the target, and as I strike the ball, I face the golf ball. I'm going to go ahead and hit a couple here, and I'm going to do a couple right foot back drills, because again, it's one of my favorite drills in golf. Get into it, drop my right foot behind me as I strike the golf ball. I'm going to keep my shoulders feeling like they actually face the ball. And that's a really nice little draw. I think my path there is probably 2 or 3 degrees inside out normally when I'm hitting my draw, up to about 5 degrees to the right. One more time. There I am, facing the golf ball. I'm not obsessing over getting my hips open, okay? Can't hit it better than that. That was great. So I'm about 100% confident that for the vast majority of golfers, not elite athletes, not elite golfers, not guys out there that are, hitting the ball 315 yards with a hook. This isn't what you want to be working on, guys. If you've got a ton of speed, it's quite possible when you hit the golf ball that your belt buckle's winning the race too much. You've got too much tilt. You're increasing that sway gap as you approach the golf ball. You've got to get a little bit of dose of, what recreational golfers do. Important to get your right shoulder further forward and get your left shoulder more around, okay? So again, remember, it's not the same for everyone. But for you recreational golfers, unbelievably important to slow down your body as you change direction, keep everything back, allow your arms to work down, and really focus on making sure, boom, when I strike that ball, I am facing the golf ball with my shoulders. Try those 2 drills, guys, okay? The crisscross drill, first of all, trail foot back drill. Really slow those shoulders and hips as you change direction. Get those arms out in front of you. I'm certain this is going to help. We'll talk to you next time.